Welcome back, guys. Welcome back to Spontaneous Remarks, the podcast where you never know what's going to be said or done. You just got to know what we're talking about today. We've had some great episodes in the past. Last week, we talked about the movie Gremlins. What a fun time we had. I'm okay. The Gremlins didn't get me. Let's not waste any time. We're going to spin the old wheel of Nerdville. And here we go. Let's get going here. All right, well, we got our topic today, guys. Back in the 80s, there was nothing better to do on a Saturday morning than to wake up first thing, get a bowl of cereal, and go watch you some Saturday morning cartoons. So this episode, we're going to talk about the cartoons from the 1980s, and we're going to have us a grand old time, guys. So let's get going, guys, on this episode of Spontaneous Remarks. Woo! All right, guys, welcome back to Spontaneous Remarks. Welcome back once again to the show. And so it's been kind of a busy week for me. It's been a little stressful here and there, but we're going to dive right off into the fun, mystical time growing up back in the 1980s where, back then we didn't have internet. We had Nintendo and things like that. Well, I don't think Nintendo come out until like 89 maybe, but one of my fondest memories growing up is, waking up, you didn't have school, waking up on Saturday morning, sitting in front of the TV and turning you on some Saturday morning cartoons. So I remember, I'd get up early. You kids back in the 80s, don't get up for school. We'd want to sleep in, but Saturday morning, man, there's something about it. We just wake up 6 o'clock, and we had to go in there and sit down just to watch those Saturday morning cartoons. And as time went on, the cartoon lineups usually changed on whatever station you were watching. But the Saturday morning cartoons in the 80s, they were a vibrant and iconic era for animated television. I mean, this is often considered a golden age of Saturday morning programming. It had a surge of creativity, a lot of memorable characters, innovative storytelling, and a lot of our toys from the 1980s came from a lot of these cartoons or vice versa. A lot of the key aspects of these cartoons, we had so many iconic shows. I mean, the 1980s saw the rise of so many different characters like He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, G.I. Joe, a real American hero. We talked about that toy line not too long ago. Transformers, that was part of the Saturday morning lineup. Thundercats. Thundercats is something I never really got into. I don't know if it's just because maybe I missed the cartoon time. I never saw the cartoon. I know the song just because I've seen it on YouTube, the Thunder, Thunder, Thundercats, or however it went. And then Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which is one of my favorite of the Saturday morning lineups and toys and all that. But they all debuted during this decade, and these shows featured action-packed adventures and colorful characters. And then, like I mentioned, I always get ahead of myself these times. They always use these cartoons as the vehicles for toy lines. Now, the broadcast networks, a lot of the cartoons were primarily broadcast on major networks like ABC, CBS, and NBC, and also in syndication. And these networks dedicated specific blocks of time on Saturday mornings for animated programming, drawing a large audience of children. Now, there were so many that also shared, like, the cross-media franchises. We had G.I. Joe and Transformers. They were in part of the same universe, Hasbro. And then the He-Man had corresponding toy lines from Mattel. There was She-Ra and some other shows like that. But anyway, this synergy between cartoons and toys helped drive the merchandise sales and enhance the overall experience for young fans. Now, I want to say that if I remember correctly, He-Man, the characters, I mean the toys, started first, and then they had to make the cartoon afterward to build on the mythology of He-Man, if I remember correctly. I could be wrong. But it had a lot of action and adventure. A lot of the Saturday morning cartoons in the 80s was focused on action and adventure themes with heroes battling villains in these fantastical worlds. And a lot of moral lessons were frequently woven into a lot of the storylines, which reflected the era's emphasis on entertainment with an educational value. He-Man was one of them. At the end of the show, there was always a little be nice to your neighbor type message, and something that you learned throughout the episode. A lot of the animation styles in the 1980s were really distinct and characterized by all these bold colors and character designs and just these dynamic action sequences. And while even some of these shows had limited animation due to budget constraints, other features impressed animation quality that still holds up today. Now, we've talked about this in several episodes in the past. We've touched on a lot of these toy lines, but this cultural impact, these cartoons left a lasting impact on popular culture, spawned tons of merchandise, comic books, video games, and even feature films. And the characters and themes from these shows remain beloved by fans who grew up watching them during the 80s. And, overall, just the Saturday morning cartoons in the 1980s were that defining era in the history of animated television. There's many that I know I probably didn't see, and I don't know how many times I would sit in front of the TV and just watch these for hours. And the era's blend of this creativity, nostalgia, and just innovative storytelling, it just continues to resonate with a lot of audiences, and it makes these shows enduring classics in the realm of animation. Okay, so let's talk about just a lineup of the Saturday morning cartoons, and we'll just talk about a few here and there. Okay, so we got He-Man and the Masters of the Universe. These were all about the adventures of Prince Adam, who transformed into He-Man to defend Eternia against the evil forces of Skeletor. Then we talked about G.I. Joe, a real American hero, several episodes ago. G.I. Joe was the elite team, and they battled against the terrorist organization Cobra to protect freedom and justice. We have the Transformers, the epic battle between Autobots and Decepticons, the sentient robots from the planet Cybertron who could transform into vehicles and other forms. Now, this is one I didn't really ever watch. I don't know much about it, but Thundercats, a lot of people do like Thundercats. This is the adventures of Lion-O and the Thundercats as they defend their home planet of Third Earth against the evil Mum-Ra and their adversaries. Sorry if I mispronounced anything. Number 5, one of my favorites, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Join Leonardo, Michelangelo, Donatello, and Raphael as they fight crime in New York City while mastering the art of ninjutsu. Inspector Gadget, one of the more goofier ones of the time. I never was a big Inspector Gadget fan. But he was a bumbling Inspector Gadget equipped with high-tech gadgets as he tackled crime with the help of his niece Penny and her dog Brain. And so that cartoon come up with the catchphrase, "Go, go, Gadget," whatever it was he was trying to use. And it would, if he said, "Go, go, Gadget arms," his arms would shoot out because he had gadgets all. To me, it's kind of silly. But anyway. Oh, and then this next one is one that's probably got one of the best theme songs in all of the cartoons, in my opinion. And that's DuckTales. Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Anyway, you get the picture. Yeah, I really enjoy that song. I just like to listen to it just for fun. It's got just some cool stuff going on in it. DuckTales joined Scrooge McDuck and his nephews Huey, Dewey, and Louie as they embark on an adventurous treasure hunt around the world. This was even a NES game, and I remember going through the game, but I don't remember much about it. But it was a pretty fun game. Alvin and the Chipmunks. So if you remember these from either the 70s or the 60s or 70s, I don't remember when they come out. But Alvin, Simon, and Theodore, the singing chipmunks, along with their manager Dave, this all navigated through their life as famous singing chipmunks. We have the Smurfs, the little blue Smurfs exploring the magical world, led by Papa Smurf, and they always tried to outsmart the villainous Gargamel and his cat Azrael. And then, of course, we have one that started back in the 60s, I believe, maybe in the 70s. Scooby-Doo, Where Are You? Join Scooby-Doo and Mystery Inc. gang as they solve spooky mysteries involving ghosts, monsters, and villains. And then for the girls, you had Jem and the Holograms, and this was the glamorous adventures of Jerrica Benton, who transforms into the rock star Jem with the help of her holographic computer synergy. And then there was Voltron, Defender of the Universe. Witness the heroic battles of the Voltron forces as they pilot robot lions to form the mighty Voltron and defend the universe against evil. So those were some, and then as I was doing the research for this episode, I cannot pass up a chance to mention the real Ghostbusters cartoon. So Ghostbusters come out in the 80s. Join the Ghostbusters team as they battle supernatural entities and ghosts in New York City based on the hit movie franchise. Now, this was a really cool cartoon. Dave Coulier, which is Uncle Joey from Full House, was the voice of Peter Venkman. And then, I'm not sure who, I think Eddie Murphy or Arsenio Hall, maybe it was Arsenio Hall, was the voice of Winston Zeddemore. And then the other two, I'm not sure. I think Ray might have been Frank Welker, who also did Fred Jones and Scooby-Doo, if I remember correct. And then, I don't know about Egon, but in the cartoon, Slimer was actually like the Ghostbusters pet. He would stay around in the, the firehouse, and he would always try to slime somebody. He was sliming anybody he could most of the time, but he was their pet. He was a good guy in the cartoon, which was kind of cool. Okay, and then we have the Jetsons. Many remember the Jetsons, the futuristic world featuring space-age technology and comedic adventures. Then there was Garfield and Friends. Of course, we all know the lasagna-loving cat Garfield, along with Odie and John Arbuckle. She-Ra, Princess of Power. This was a spinoff of He-Man. I think She-Ra was his Princess Adora. I think that was his cousin, maybe, or something. But she was against the evil Hordak and wanted to protect Etheria. And then there was the Muppet Babies, which was always a fun little show to watch. You had Baby Kermit, Baby Miss Piggy, Fozzie the Bear, and the other Muppets, and they were always doing anything with their imagination to go on exciting adventures. I remember growing up, the McDonald's had the little toys one time of Muppet Babies, and Kermit was on a skateboard. Miss Piggy was in a little car. But I remember getting Kermit, and I lost the skateboard. And I was heartbroken over it because it was so cool. You put him on there and you could roll him. And I went to a friend's house with my parents, and we were in her bedroom, and we were playing. And lo and behold, I ended up finding a Kermit and skateboard together. And I tried to take it home with me. Needless to say, that didn't end well for me. I ended up getting a whooping when I got home, but that's okay. I miss those times. I don't care if that was a whooping from my dad. I miss it. And then after Muppet Babies, we have Chip and Dale Rescue Rangers. This was Chip and Dale, the little chipmunks, along with their team of friends as they solved crimes and rescued those in need in a fun and adventurous way. Now, this next one was always a fun watch for me because I enjoyed Nintendo games. This was Captain N, the Game Master. And it was based off of various different NES games. So the Mother Brain from Metroid was the main antagonist, and then King Hippo and Eggplant, whatever the guy, I don't know. Oh, Eggplant Wizard from Kid Icarus, and then King Hippo from Punch-Out were the kind of the bumbling idiots, kind of like similar to Bebop and Rocksteady and the Turtles. And then Captain N, he was just a video game player that got sucked into the TV to try to protect His name was Kevin Keene, by the way. Captain N, he got transported into the world where he must save Videoland from Mother Brain. He had friends helping him out. There was Mega Man, Simon Belmont, Kid Icarus, the princess. Whatever, I don't even remember the princess's name, but that was always a fun show because it was all about video games. So a lot of the different episodes had something to do with a certain game, and that would be the theme of the show or that episode. Dungeons and Dragons. This was just a group of kids transported into the fantasy realm to navigate dungeons and battle monsters and things like that. Adventures of Teddy Ruxpin. Never got into that one. That was just the animatronic bear. I don't even know if I had one, but he would talk if you tell you stories and stuff like that. Rainbow Bright, another one for the girls. Didn't care much for this one, but the little doll Rainbow Bright to protect Rainbow Land from the forces of darkness or whatever. Care Bears. This was one that I did. I think this would be more for girls, but I did watch Care Bears growing up a little bit. They each had their unique personalities on their chest or belly, and they would use it to spread the caring and kindness throughout the world. The Snorks. These were the little, kind of like Smurfs, but underwater. Small, colorful little creatures living underwater. Denver the Last Dinosaur. I remember the name, but I don't remember much about that one. Follow the adventures of Denver, the friendly dinosaur discovered by a group of California teens as they embark on fun and adventurous escapades. So that was just several different cartoons that were back then. I remember them, a lot of them fondly. There was another one that I remember real early in the morning. If you got up too early, you had the older cartoons. Aesop's Fables. Now, Aesop's Fables, they were a collection of ancient moral stories attributed to Aesop, or Aesop, however you pronounce it. A storyteller believed to have lived in ancient Greece around 6th century BCE, or BC. These fables are known for their simplicity, wit, and enduring moral lessons. So you always had stories like, the tortoise and the hare, the boy who cried wolf, ant and the grasshopper, the fox and the grapes, and then the lion and the mouse. And they were all in the older style animation. I don't know when they come out, but these cartoons were, quite different than what we were getting ready to watch. This was like 6 a.m. I remember watching a couple of these, just waiting for the good stuff to come on. A lot of these cartoons left a lot of different great memories for me as growing up. It was really fun just to watch all these cartoons in their different time slots on Saturday mornings before anything got going on. A couple of other honorable mentions during the 80s were, I remember a pup named Scooby-Doo. That was Scooby-Doo and the gang, but they were kids. A different time frame. And then there was Beetlejuice. That was a pretty cool cartoon. Actually, I just found this out. I was looking up the voice cast for some of these cartoons, and the girl that voices Lydia from the Beetlejuice cartoon is the same girl that voices Claire Redfield in Resident Evil 2 and Resident Evil Code Veronica, which I thought was pretty interesting. I knew I'd recognized her name, Allison Court, somewhere, but I didn't know, so I had to look it up. There was a lot of different cartoons back then. I mean, there was always something on. I remember the one about, I think it was Muscle, which it was the little characters. Well, I remember the little toys. There were little bitty characters, and there was a billion of them, it seemed. There was always something new to them. They were little wrestlers, Japanese. I think there was a Japanese anime on called Muscle, and it was all different ones. There was Mask. I don't remember much about that one. I just remember the name. There was Police Academy from the movie, even though it was kind of weird because the very first movie, Police Academy, is rated R, and they come out with a cartoon based on all the characters, so I thought that was kind of interesting. And I'm sure that there's a lot that I'm missing, but it was a fun time. It was a fun time to wake up in the morning and just sit and relax and just watch some Saturday morning cartoons. And as time went on, they got to where, of course, they wasn't as good, but they had other shows that come on that wasn't necessarily cartoons. I remember Saturday morning I'd end up watching Saved by the Bell sometimes. There was other shows that were not animated, but it was just a fun time. Growing up in the 80s, I'm telling you, it was just a fun time to be alive. So I hope you enjoyed this episode today, and I hope you remember looking back on your childhood and watching some of the shows that you enjoyed growing up, and just think back to just a simpler time where life was not hectic. Mom and dad would take care of you, and all you had to do was find some time to watch you some Saturday morning cartoons. So I guess that's going to be it for this episode, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I really appreciate you listening and making me a part of your day. Thank you so much. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Tune in next time where we don't know what we're going to talk about, but it'll be something. So have a great day. We'll catch you on the flip-flop. Life is like a hurricane here in Duckburg. Blah, blah, doo, beep, beep.